Welcome to Mr. Chalk's Revision Tips. In this video, we will look at action potential, resting potential, and membrane proteins. So, the resting membrane potential of a neuron is about minus 70 millivolts. This means that the inside of the neuron is 70 millivolts less than the outside. So at rest there are relatively more sodium ions outside the neurons and more potassium ions inside of that neuron. So, just to recap, action potentials are caused when different ions cross the neuron membrane. So stimulus first causes the sodium ion channels to open. So because there are more sodium ions on the outside and the inside of the neuron is negative relative to the outside, sodium ions rush into the neuron. So it starts off, so the gate or the sodium channels open. The gates are usually kept closed in resting cells. So when stimulated, they open and sodium ions travel back into the cell because there's now a concentration gradient, and that causes depolarization. So at resting potential, the following sets of things are used in order to maintain it. So we have a sodium-potassium pump, which is a form of active transport. 3 sodium ions are transported out of the cell for every 2 potassium ions are transported into the cell. So this makes the inside of the cell relatively more negative than the outside of the cell. So at that point we can say that the cell membrane has been polarized. And this occurs, or when this occurs, it's called resting potential. So if we go and look at this process in more detail. So it starts off with a sodium ion channel closes, therefore sodium ions can't diffuse back into the neuron. Then 3 sodium ions are transported out of the cell for every 2 potassium ions transported into the cell using a potassium sodium pump. Potassium ion channels open so potassium ions can diffuse back out of the axon. So this makes the inside of the cell relatively more negative than the outside. So the cell membrane is said to be polarized, and like we said before, when this occurs, this is called resting potential.
Thanks for watching.